Hello students, welcome to Shyama Prasad Mukherjee College for Women. This Google form is supposed to filled by students for seeking admission in the different courses of the college. In this form, you will go through different section where you are supposed to fill your details carefully. Coming to the very first section. In this section, you are supposed to fill your basic details. Here, wherever you find this asterisk symbol against a field, this means you have to fill your details on the mandatory basis. Coming to the very first field, email ID. You have to enter your valid email ID. This email ID will be used by college to communicate you in the time of necessary. Suppose there is a student, Soumya Tandon. She wants to seek admission in the college. So, if her email ID is soumya_tandon@gmail.com, so she can enter the email ID in this way. The next two fields, reference number and form number, requires the unique number. This number you can find on the application form which you had filled while seeking the admission in the University of Delhi. So suppose if Soumya has a reference number on the application form as 435, something like this, and the form number having details something like this. The next field is a full name. The student has to make sure that when you are writing the roll number, when you are writing the full name, it must be in the block letters. Okay. So you don't have to make the mistake of writing in the small letters something like this. This will not be the valid one. You have to write your name in block or capital letters, something like this. The next field requires your 10-digit mobile number. Suppose this is the one which a student has entered. The next field requires the valid date of birth. Here you can use this calendar to pick up the valid date of birth. That means the date on which you were born. So in this calendar, you have to first use this drop down to pick up the year in which you were born. Suppose you were born on 14th November 2001. So you have to first select the year. Against this, you have to pick up the suitable month. And finally, you have to pick up the suitable date. The next field is the category. Here you have to pick up the category in which you are seeking the admission. In the next field, you have to fill your father's name, and it must be the full name. In the next field, you have to enter your father's occupation. Suppose if your father is doing business, you have to write business. Or if your father is doing the service, you can write it as service. The next field require your father's 10-digit mobile number. Suppose this is the number. The next field requires your mother's full name. Next, you have to enter your mother's occupation. If your mother is housewife, you can simply write housewife, or if your mother is doing some service, you can write service. If your mother is in business, you can write business. The next field is the 10-digit mobile number of your mother. Next comes the nationality. Nationality, that is the country in which you are living. So suppose you are from India. So you can write India. Suppose you are from Sri Lanka. You can write Sri Lanka. The next field requires the details of the quota under which you are seeking the admission. Suppose you are seeking the admission under SC category, so you can simply write SC quota. Or if you are Kashmiri migrant, you can choose this option. The next field requires your valid residential address. Next, you have to choose the state in which you are residing. You have to enter the valid PIN code number of the area in which you are living. The next two fields are supposed to be filled by those students who are living out of station, and here they have to enter their guardian's name. So this is not the mandatory field. This is only for those students who are living out of station. They are supposed to fill these two details. The next field belongs to the community. You have to pick up the community to which you are belonging. So the next field requires the year of passing of class 12th exam by you. So suppose you have passed the exam in year 2021, you have to enter the details something like this. The next field requires the detail of the board where you have passed your 12th standard exam. The next field requires the name of your college or the school last attended. This field is the optional one, and this is filled by the student who was earlier enrolled in some university. Otherwise, you can leave this field. The next three fields requires the preference of the choice that is provided in the college. So there are three choices here: NCC, NSS and sports. You have to select your preferences in the top down basis. So suppose if you have the top priority of NSS, then in the next choice you have to make sure you have to fill the option other than the NSS. Suppose your second priority is NCC. In the last choice you have to pick up that option other than NCC and NSS. There is one more thing that you have to keep in the mind, that in the 3 years of college the students must mandatorily complete prescribed hours of allotted activity. That means if there are 120 hours allotted in the 3 years of your college for NSS, then you are supposed to complete the 120 hours. In the next field, you are supposed to enter the details of any achievement made by you in the activities during your college. You have to make sure that you have to write the enter of details only those activities where you had obtained the certificate. Suppose you had secured first position in a debate competition, so you have to write the detail of that while making sure that you have a certificate of that competition, right? So this is an optional field basically. The next field is basically the mandatory field. Here you have to pick up the 4 subjects where you have obtained the maximum marks, and you have to compute the percentage and that write the detail of it here. Suppose a student has secured the percentage in the 4 subject like this. You can refer the university prospectus to know what are the 4 subjects you do require while seeking the admission in a particular course in a college or of a university. The last field is basically the one where you have to choose the course in which you are seeking the admission in the college. So suppose the student has chosen in the last, you have to make sure that you have entered all the details correct, and after that you have to go to the next section. The next section is supposed to be filled by those students who are seeking admission in these courses, that is BA Honors, BCom Honors, BSc Honors Maths, BSc Honors Computer Science. So this section basically collects student choices for GE and AECC papers under these courses. The students may check the GE syllabus for different subjects on the DU website before filling their 4 GE preferences. It is mandatory for students to fill 4 different GE subjects in the order of preference in the space provided below for the same purpose. Please note that students cannot choose 2 papers of the same subject. I again repeat, the students cannot choose 2 papers of the same subject as 2 of their GE preferences. For example, a student who opts for English, Individual and Society as GE preference 1 cannot pick English, Language, Literature and Culture as preference 2 or 3 or 4. So here the details of the GE subjects offered by the department is given here, and the essential instructions are also provided here. I suggest you to go through these details carefully before filling the forms. So suppose the student had chosen this choice. So you have to make sure that all the preferences should be unique. The next field basically requires the detail of the preferred medium of instruction for the AECC, that is Ability Enhancement Compulsory Course paper. The next field requires the detail of whether you have studied the Hindi or not, and if you have studied Hindi, you have to mention up to what standard you have studied Hindi. So suppose you have studied Hindi up to 12th standard. Similarly, you have to mention whether you have studied the English or not and up to what standard. Once again, I am repeating that this section is required by those students to fill who want to seek admission in these courses. Otherwise, the students who want to seek admission in other courses can select not applicable option in all the fields provided in this section. Then you have to move to the next section. This section belongs to those students who want to seek admission in the BA program. So here the student is required to fill the possible discipline combination in which the student is seeking admission. And those who don't want to seek admission in this course, they can select not applicable and then move to the next section. This section belongs to those students who want to seek admission in the courses of BA program and BCom Pass. They have to first choose a preferred medium of instruction for the AECC paper. Please choose MIL. Please choose the preferred medium of instruction for the compulsory environmental science paper. Here you have to mention up to what standard you have studied English. You have to mention the marks which you obtained in the English. And basically you have to enter the marks which you basically secured in the given exam. You have to mention up to which standard you have studied Hindi. You also have to mention the marks which you obtained in the last exam. After making sure you have filled all these details, you can proceed to the next option, to the next section basically. And the students who don't want to seek admission in these courses can select not applicable. Finally, in this section, here the student can opt for add-on courses offered by the college. This section is basically the optional. If you want to enroll to any of the add-on courses provided by the college, you can fill the details provided in this section. So just read this table which provides you all the add-on courses provided by this college Here is the option to select the possible add-on course you want to get enrolled in. If you don't want to opt for the add-on course, you can choose none. And finally, you can make your final submission of the form. If you have any doubt, any query, or any grievances, you can drop your email at the provided email ID of the grievances and the help desk, or you can contact to the desired person whose details are provided on the college website.